to Parents Make a Difference. I'm your host, Josiepv. If your child struggles with a speech impediment or some kind of language barrier and is keeping him or her from moving forward, you need to hear today's guest's story of overcoming a huge barrier in his life. Today, we are blessed to have with us Allan Thompson, the Mayor of Caledon. I am humbled and so thankful that you are joining us on Parents Make a Difference. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
I was at a unique Toastmasters event with Bolton, Ontario and Bolton, England that you were at. And to my amazement, you briefly mentioned that you grew up with a stuttering issue. Now, as a parent, a teacher, and an advocate to help parents and kids overcome adversity, I thought to myself, this is a story I want to learn from, and I want parents learning and listening to this story. When did your stuttering begin?
My stuttering started when I was learning to speak, and I think because I had quite difficulty getting words out, I just didn't speak. I was 4 years old before I was really having conversations, and it's about confidence. The blessing that I had is my mother was a school teacher, so she understood it, picked up on it, and worked through. I got to tell you too, in the public school system, especially my grade 3 and my grade 5 teachers really helped me overcome it. In fact, I even despised my grade 5 teacher for a while, and today I still think she's the best teacher I ever had. But they knew what I needed to do, and one is you can't cuddle it. It is, and you can't say it's a handicap. It's not. It means what you have to do. It's a skill set. It's something that you have to build in. It's a little tough. You have a tougher battle to be able to speak better than others. But one thing I did find was my grade 5 teacher she kept putting me up in front of the class and had the class help them work through it. And at first I thought I was being picked on, and I thought it was you had it in for me. I look back at it today. I think she molded me for what I'm doing today. If I told you 20 years ago this is what I'd be doing, I'd be disagreeing. Now, there's certain words you really have to be careful for. And I do know when I'm doing my speeches, sometimes I have to cross out words and I'll pick something else, because it's a little words that trigger in your head that allow you to stammer. And the other challenge I really find is if you have somebody else that is speaking to you and is stammering, something triggers in your mind and it still goes back. I'm 60 years of age, but it's something you work at for the rest of your life. And it's something that you build in. And the sooner you can help children work through their speech impediment, I think it's the better it is, because it starts to become a routine. And I think that's what you have to deal with, is routine. And there's a lot of leaders that do have a stammering problem. The president of the United States at this point in time, Joe Biden, does, and he works through it. And you'll know sometimes when he's in speeches he gets caught, but I feel for him because I can identify exactly what he's doing. Patrick Brown, the mayor of Brampton, has the same challenge, and I know sometimes when you hear that, I'll just say, well, hang in there, buddy, because you get caught up on catching on words. And what it is I think a lot of times our minds wanting to move much quicker than what we're trying to say and what we're trying to express. The other things too is, how do you, if you got a speech impediment, how do you move forward, and how do you get ahead of it? And I think some ways is the two things that I have learned. And my grade 3 teacher told me, what you're trying to do is try to tell try to tell people that you're trying to inform them. It to me is when you're speaking, it's like a job, like you're trying to get a message out. Tell your message, tell a story.
Mhm.
And it is something that isn't, oh, now I know, I'll go for it. It isn't. It's practice, practice, practice. And it's taken a long time. In fact, I brought this up one time with my friends, and they said, yeah, I do remember that now that you speak of it. But they had long forgotten it, because by the time I was at high school, I was getting it mastered. But there's still times it'll just trip you up without thinking it you will get caught on it. But it's something that not to be ashamed of, and don't.
Not
And
at
I think
all.
I think what I would say to the children is never let that define you, because once you've beat that, you can beat anything. And I
That's
think too is when you see like Joe Biden and Patrick Brown, and because with Patrick I've had several conversations, because we both have that same challenge. I think
mhm.
when we realize we can battle through it, we no longer have that fear of speaking in public, because we've already had to fight to and kids are cruel, right? They'll tease
Yeah.
you and everything else, but once you can accomplish that, speaking in public is not the fearful that a lot of people have. It just seems that you've already hit that one level sooner without knowing it, without knowing
That,
that you can do that.
that's true. That's a
So
very good point. And a lot of people end up speaking later in their life to a public crowd, and that's when they realize they have the fear of speaking maybe to a larger group. But you already had to
yeah,
overcome that. And I love the story because I know you've overcome it. And that's why I want people to hear your story, because uh,
yeah.
that is, especially even for a young child to have all that stress and to be thinking of those things and how to overcome. Did you also seek help outside of the school? Was there any other uh, therapy that you did outside, or was it just in the school?
It was in the school. There was a special what they call language arts when I was going through public school at the time, and this is back in the late 60s, early 70s. So they did have a couple, and there's one lady that I had a great respect for, and she definitely helped. Well, and that was her expertise. She worked for the school board. She traveled among schools and
Yes.
certain students, and you know, and she was very helpful. But what she was doing was giving you language exercises and how to get around your L's and different things that can kind of set um, certain letters just kind of set off in your brain. And
Hmm.
it's basically learning. It's the skill. You just have to work harder to overcome it. But once you overcome it, um, I think you got a bigger advantage than a lot of other people that have had it so easy. And then when you have an issue, you try to deal with it to get through it. But I do
Yeah.
believe,
Mhm.
especially when I got into the political scene, Toastmasters was a big help for me to be able to. It's something you have to work hard at all the time, and it's just something that when you've been at it a long time, it just comes to you as second nature. But that's all I could say to is any student that is that does have a that does stutter or have a stammering problem. My encouragement is to them is don't let that define you. It means that you just have to work a little harder than others, but it sets you up for life.
Well, that's great advice, and it's great advice really for anyone who has any issue. You know, whatever they're going through, whatever they're trying to overcome. In reality, it's trying to figure out strategies to overcome it. Work really hard, and you can overcome anything you put your mind to, just as you have overcome this. Right? It takes hard work. It takes some strategy, getting it from knowledge of people who have the strategies to move you in the right direction. So, I mean, I think that's a golden nugget right there. It's really a good information for anyone who's going through anything. It can be put in any part of our lives. Well, my experience is kids with speech impediments or such as stuttering often felt that they got bullied, and you briefly mentioned that you felt that you got bullied to some
Yeah.
degree.
Yeah, I didn't find it in the class, mainly found it in the schoolyard or on the school bus, and it's generally the
Mhm.
older kids that would pick on somebody that, you know, uh, there was myself and another neighbor, and he had the first name as I did. And you know, when you get on the bus, the kids go, oh, hello, I was on the bus, you know, like it is,
Yeah, my
kids are
heart
cruel.
breaks for that. Yeah, that my heart really, really breaks for that.
But you know, you learn to deal with it, and you know, and I know in the political scene, especially when you're an elected official, especially with the social media, a lot of people can rather be cruel on social media, but you let it roll off your back because you kind of like use those as life skills. You learn to deal with it, and it's just what it is. So you don't. To me, a lot of people say, how you deal with it. I don't know. I just let it roll off my back. And I think it is from a little bit of that teasing back there. Did I get bullied or beat up because of it? And the answer is no. I didn't. I hear of it and it's disappointing. But at the other hand is, yeah, I do believe that a lot of times the bullying comes from other people that are insecure, so they'll pick on somebody else that has a problem.
Yes,
So
yes, I
what
agree
you're
with that.
doing is you have to build in your mind that is they've got a problem and they're picking on you because they just don't know how to deal with it. And you know, it's yeah, you just work through it. Um those
So
people today, and I think the other thing you have to learn to do too is you can't let it get to you. I just have to forgive them for who they are, and that's their problem, not yours. Don't let it get in your headspace. And I think that's the other thing. It's just how do you mentally prepare how you go forward with it. Um, and I have to say, um, I was blessed to have a mother that was a school teacher that totally understood and dealt with this with the students. And my mom started out in a school where she had all grades, right? So you know, like you know, she had kids from grade 1 to grade 8, you know, and so she saw it all. And that's the other disappointment I had with my mom too, is you couldn't pull anything past her. She already was 10 jumps ahead of you because
she's seen it.
that experience.
She's
Yeah,
had the
yeah,
experience.
yeah, yeah.
Well, you know what? It's prepared you. It's you know, that bullying has prepared you, as you said, which is a very good point. We could, you know, what we go through can prepare us for the future, for things we're going to go through, and it's desensitizing us to that situation. I mean, being in your position, you're always going to have people for you. You're always going to have people against you, and you're going to have you know, it's just going to be part of the game, right? And so that has prepared you. That's amazing.
Well, it is. And to me, I can tell you with my 60 years of experience is anything that's happened, even that's whatever, it's life skills to prepare you for what you're to deal with in life. And especially with coming through um the pandemic, whatever. I think people that have been able to beat this, it gives you a coping mechanism that you can cope with issues, especially with COVID and everything that we've had to experience with lockdown and everything else. There's a lot of people having mental breakdowns right now, but it's because I do believe it leads, a lot of it is to the coping skills, and some that have, you know, been challenged with those things in younger and have been able to overcome that. Their coping skills are so much stronger today. And I really believe that, and I'm not saying it's acceptable to be bullied or picked on or criticized. It's not, but I have to say, through my life experience that I can speak for, it's just made me a stronger and better person going forward.
Mhm. Well, I love the fact that one thing you did was change your perspective. You change your
Yeah,
perspective on the issue, and realize that it is their issue, not yours. If they're picking on you, they're probably, you know, not confident in themselves. Maybe they're going through something, but changing your perspective, because I I've heard it said many times, it's not what happens to you, it's how you deal with it. And
yeah,
you change the direction on how you interpret the situation, right? Because we're all interpreting everything that's happening around us. And that is a very important point, so that you don't take it so personal. And
yeah.
we can teach that at a young age.
The one thing I did find in school that I really set me back for a while, and it took a while to catch, was the oral phonics, because you
Hmm.
have a stammering problem
Hmm.
and the teachers are rigid. You'd pull back. You didn't want to learn because you felt that really exposed your weakness.
Mhm.
And it was that maturity. And if I can say to anything with kids with that is look at it as all as a challenge. Just think like you're an Olympic athlete, and you got to prep and prepare and prepare and prep. And if you're gonna come out as a better student in the long run. And it will not be in that grade year, but I can assure you in 2 or 3 years, if you keep working at it, and you yeah, you accomplish. It's just a life skill that you learn to accomplish over time, and the rewards are good. So it's one thing, and I guess that's what I have to say is you just because you have it doesn't define who you are. It just makes you. It means that you're going to be a better person when you can overcome it. And
So
you don't overcome it. It's just you learn how to deal with it, right?
you learn how to deal with it.
Yeah, it's in your mind, and it'll always be there. And it's just part of it. Is just how you manage that. It's a life skill that you have to learn that others are blessed that don't have to. But for
Huh.
you, yeah, it yeah.
I think everyone has something they've got to overcome. For you, that's what it might have been. Someone else has something else. They say the grass is not greener on the other side. So if we can look at it that way too, it's like, hey, okay, this is what I'm going to overcome. Someone else is going through something else. But I find that, we all have that voice of doubt. And I don't know if you agree with me there. Uh,
We all do.
we all
Yeah,
do. So
it's
how do you combat that voice of doubt? You've shared some of the things like putting things into perspective. Is there anything else you can share with us on how to um, combat that voice of doubt?
if you asked me to speak about this when I was 12 or 14 or a 16-year-old, I couldn't say with confidence what I can today. I think it's something that, yeah, that voice of doubt is there, self-confidence. One of the other things that I do think that did help me that I forgot to mention was, I talked about schooling, the help of my teachers,
Mhm.
but in 4-H, through the Rotary in Peel, the Brampton Rotary sponsored the Peel 4-H, which is an agricultural um, grassroots organization that teaches kids life skills, um, personal development skills, whatever. But they sponsored a Dale Carnegie program,
Mhm.
and I'm going to tell you that Dale Carnegie course that we took as teenagers probably gave me the confidence that I needed to get over the threshold, not just because of my stammering problem, but just a lot of things as an individual. And it gave you the confidence as an individual to stand for yourself. And I think we could use a lot more of that, um, those skills to give young people a chance to move forward. And I just didn't think of it. I know when I looked at questions, that didn't trigger in my head till now. But I got to say that was another organization outside that was I found extremely impactful to me as an individual as well.
I read the book How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. I thought it's an amazing book. It's an
Yeah.
old book, but I can read it over and over and still learn from it. How long did you take the course for? Was it like a weekend thing, a week course?
It was weekends, and I think it was about 8 or 9 sessions that we took on it. And yeah, I think it was, yeah, maybe it was 10 sessions. I can't remember. It's been a while ago, but it was a great program. But it
Mhm.
did build a respect and a camaraderie among your peers. I think everybody is peers. We all found our indifferences, but it also gave us the confidence and how to move forward. So to me, I think that was what really helped me as I was developing through a teenager. That had a huge impact on me. And I think it was at either 15 or 16 at the time uh,
Mhm.
when we're going through it. But I was so grateful to have that program. And that was one of the big things that you ask. I think that definitely helped as a young person. So get back to your question. Um, yeah, I think it just takes time and life skills to appreciate where you're at, and how to deal with your speech impediment and how to deal with it. Um, it as young people, and especially as children, they can't see it today, but I can tell you when by the time they hit their 20s, they've they're all accomplished. And I think they're much stronger people when you get there, because they just had to build that. You just have to build that confidence, and it's something that you can't ask anybody to do for you. You have to do it yourself. But as a young individual, your learning capacity, like, I mean, under the age of 12, it's really tough, and they just have to battle through it. But as become teenagers and young individuals, by the time you get my age, you realize it's just made you a stronger and better person.
That's wonderful to hear. With more responsibility comes more problems to overcome. And as a mayor, you have many issues you need to deal with that can bring on stress. What strategies can you share with parents that you find are healthy ways to deal with stress?
I think you have to define, and that this is true. I really had to learn how to deal with stress, and I kind of had a life-changing moment when I was about 40. But again, it's just mentally how you deal with stress. And I think you have to learn to park it in your headspace. And two is, when I realized the challenges I have, it's a huge responsibility. It's a privilege, but it is very humbling that the public, voted you to represent them, to make the decisions on behalf of the municipality. You have to remember, it's the position that you hold. As much as when the criticism comes, it isn't you as an individual, it's the position you hold. It's the position that you're serving. And you can't let it get to you personally. It sounds easier than it is.
Well, it sounds like it's changing perspective again, which is definitely an important step.
Absolutely. And getting over, and people criticizing you because you stammer, or you don't have the education the other person. I do a lot of I think a lot of it is motivation, and basically how you present yourself. You can have all the education you want, but if you don't know how to put it to practice or how to implement it, and I think a lot of it is learning. You're always learning, but I do believe a lot of the skill set is not just what you learn and what you have for a degree, but it's the biggest skill is how to implement it for the greater good, or for the benefit of yourself and the communities that you're learning your skills for. And I really think a lot of people can have a lot of those skills, but the biggest skill is how to implement it. Same as trying to learn how to speak clearly, right?
Right. Having the courage too, right? The courage to do that.
To me, is they talk about leadership, but I think courage is just as big and important as leadership, because without courage, you can have all the leadership skills you want. It's that courage to be able to move forward, and to give people confidence that they'll stand behind you. They'll stand behind someone that's courageous versus somebody that's really, charismatic. I really believe courage is a bigger word that's not as recognized as it should be sometimes.
Now, do you, in regards to releasing stress, like some people will exercise, or they'll do breathing techniques or meditation. Is there anything that you do that you find is good for you that you would recommend, or not?
I think you have to find what your happy place is. Some people it's reading a book. Some people it's fishing. Some people it's golfing. You go out and whack that ball.
Some people it's gardening. I know my brother-in-law loves to garden. He says he loves it. So that's therapeutic for him.
And I find my therapy is as much as I like to get out and work on my farm, and get out on the tractor and clear your head, or get out on the lawnmower and clear your mind. I find those things are very therapeutic. Other people find it's work, but for me, for what I'm dealing, that's how I deal with my stress. Is just get out and just it'll all sort itself out. Some people find it, flying a small plane, get up in the air and you're away from everybody. And I find if that's, some people do it through playing an instrument, playing a piano, sit down and play away on the keys, and that's their way of dealing with stress. And to me, I think you have to find what that is. Everybody's different, and you just have to find what makes you happy, that gives you peace. And you need to, you especially in stressful situations, you need to find that and
Mhm.
exercise that. I really do. I think that's extremely important.
It is, it is. And my husband is a little similar to you. He enjoys going on the tractor and cutting the grass, and he doesn't want any of the kids to do it. I says, we can take turns. The kids can do it also. He's like, nope, this is what I enjoy. And there's something about nature that's very
Yeah,
therapeutic, that now they're actually there's research done about walking through nature is very therapeutic. And being out there, I understand being out there on the farm and on your tractor is therapeutic.
it is. Or even sitting at night on the deck just before you call it a night, just listen to the sounds of anything that doesn't put you in a good headspace before you go into sleep, is listening to that. The sounds of the evening, to me, is the most relaxing, soothing. Everybody has their own. Listening to music, same thing for a lot of people too.
Oh yeah, that does it for me. It helps to put me in a different mood right
Yeah,
away. I just know I need
yeah,
to do that. Yes,
yeah.
those are some good strategies. So we have to really find our own and just figure out which one works for us. But that is important. It's important to search and reflect on that, to pick something that does work. And so we have to use that more often, like you said, just make that almost like a discipline. So I understand you have two children.
I do, I do. And my daughter just got married, actually 4 weeks ago tomorrow.
Oh, that's
And
wonderful.
yeah, before it really opened up, we could only have 10 people to but the wedding was was fantastic. So it was a gorgeous ceremony, and that's what it's all about. I think sometimes we get caught up in the big moments and the big event, and really it's that celebrate, just celebrate the moment and time with the most people you love. I think it's really the one thing about these intimate weddings that are right now. I think people are going to really cherish those.
I think you're right. No, absolutely. I have a son who got married in Japan just a few weeks ago. Also, and my goodness, we couldn't be there, but we're gonna have a celebration when he comes back, and we're excited for that. So I can I could feel your enthusiasm for the event. That's
We do.
wonderful.
So then now I have my son getting married in October. So, like, I mean, it's a
Oh,
double. But I'm quite, I got to say, both of my kids are both have got their degrees. They're both doing a job that they really love. My son's a pilot, and he flies
wonderful.
medic in northern Manitoba,
Hmm.
and so he's a week on, week off. And but yes, he's really he just can't believe he's actually getting paid for doing something that he loves.
Oh, I
And
love that. That's what I love to hear.
and uh and and my daughter too, the job that she has, she just really loves. She loves the people that she works with, and she says, I don't feel like it's work, it's going to enjoy herself. So when you got things like that you're doing in your careers, that's that, as a parent, that's all you want from your children, is they're happy at what they're doing.
I
What
agree
more can
with
you
you.
ask for?
I agree with you. I have a passion to share that also, that find something you're passionate about, find something you're happy doing, so that it doesn't feel like work, just like you said, for your kids. And sometimes it's the people that you're with. It might not be the job that you want, but the people that you're with makes it so
Oh,
enjoyable that you're still in that feeling of you're in a good place. And so if
yeah,
it's not what you're doing, it's the atmosphere. But try to
yeah.
find something you're passionate about. So I love that. I love that both of them are happy where they're at, because that's so important. Really, you're right. That's what we want for our kids. That's what we want. Now, I'm sure you shared some of your advice to them on how, when they were going through stuff, when they were going through obstacles, when they were stressed. Um, is there anything you can share with us that you shared with them to help them overcome their stress or their struggles with the
um
experience that
well uh,
you've had?
well, if you talk to their mother, they probably thinks she probably thinks I'm the one's created the stress for them, but uh, to me, it's working through the problem and working and finding solutions. I have to say, both both my kids are great, but my son is to me is got a great outlook, great mental attitude on how to deal with stressful situations. And
Mhm.
maybe that's why he's so good at being a pilot. He can just keep things at a calm, and if if it's out of your control, you can, it's not going to help losing your mind over it. He's
Mhm.
both of them. I think they both love sports, but I know when they were playing sports and competitions, they would both could thrive at when when the chips were down, when it got to the, getting up into the medal rounds and different things. Uh, that's when they would both, excel, where other people would crumble under pressure. they
Mhm.
they seem to build on it and go forward. So, yeah, you know what, they do have the challenges. I think I got to lay a lot of that out to my wife, who's always said, if you have an issue, let's talk about it, let's get it out, don't let it fester inside. And our kids have been, I got to say, we're really blessed, have been quite open. Even my daughter to teenage years, I don't think there was ever a moment where my wife and my daughter, they're still, I think they're still best friends in a lot of ways. I think the most stress maybe my wife found was just coming up to the wedding the last week. But that's just natural.
Sure.
That's. But I have to say, life skills. Yeah, as parents, we try to give our kids guidance. Sometimes they don't want to listen to you, but I got to tell you, uh, our we've always made sure our kids have got involved and got engaged. And another thing too, um, one thing that is an easy way to get confidence in a community is volunteer. And to me, I think that's another way. Without thinking, it's not only being accepted, but you learn to get that confidence that it's, even with the challenges you do have, are not a problem at all. Everybody has as you said, everybody has a problem. But when you're volunteering, it's that giving back, um, also helps build a lot of confidence in your way of doing things too. And it builds a network of friends, of people of the same mindset, so that if you do have an issue, you can talk about it. And there's a lot more understanding. So I believe it or not, I really think that's something that's really important
Mhm.
for people to do, is get out and volunteer, and that opens a lot of doors for you as well.
Yeah, volunteering
You get
actually.
more out of it than the person. Yeah, whoever you're volunteering or helping with. I'm going to tell you, I think the more you give, the more you receive. You receive more. You really
I
do.
believe that. I believe that, and I think this next generation, that's a big message that you're giving, and that I agree with you. Um, the more it's a secret that people don't tend to know, or some people don't, that the more you give, the more you do get back. And sometimes it's not always even in the giving, but you'll see it in your life in other areas. You'll just be blessed because you're out there blessing others. And to do it, just to do it, and do it in an area where you have passion for. Some people have passion for animals, some people have passion for the elderly, some people have passion for kids. And to find what your passion is, and to go and volunteer is, I think, great advice from you, because uh, it makes people even more empathetic with others.
Yeah.
But like you said, there's just so many things that you will gain from it, and then a connection to people, to different people, and you never know where that connection will go, uh, or what wisdom you'll find as you're getting to know people, and it's amazing. So I mean, that is great advice, great advice. Well, any any final thoughts or wisdom that you'd share with our parents listening on how to help this next generation to prosper and grow into their full potential?
Well, I'm going to tell you, it's with the challenge that I've had to overcome. I'm going to tell you as a parent, not to worry, it's a blessing.
I love
Over
that.
time, it will be a blessing. Yeah.
But to
And
have
it,
such a supportive parent to help you through it, and you mentioned communication. She kept, well, your wife keeps communication open, and that's an important key, right? But your mother
absolutely.
kept working on it and didn't just say, okay, well, he'll grow out of it. Actually worked on getting help to move you in the right direction is an important key for parents. I think that happened also in your life.
I agree. And communication is key, and is being able to communicate, because when you have that impediment, withdrawal is the easiest and safest solution, but it's the worst thing you can possibly do. And I think between my mom and the teachers at school knew that, and I wasn't the only one. Anybody that did have that, they knew how to deal with it. And I think that's something you just have to realize is you just have to push. You have to push your boundaries. That's and you have to encourage them to push their boundaries, and you have to give them the confidence to push their boundaries. And I think as a parent, that's all you can do is give them the confidence, and they've got to find that for themselves. But you just have to give them the opportunities.
That's great advice. I mean, we all have things that we're fearful of and things that are new to us, but to push the boundaries is they say, oh, you should do something that puts fear in you every day, right? To overcome, push your boundaries and move forward, right? You'll be amazed at what happens. And look at you. Did you know, when did you decide you wanted to be mayor in your life?
You know, I think even sitting on council, if you asked me this 20 years ago, just the way where things were, I wouldn't have thought this is where I'd be. I do believe is opportunities coming forward. I had a great run as a councillor for 3 terms. And when the mayor wasn't running again, I looked around to say, well, who's going to take on this? You know what? When I decided to go forward, and no doubt I was being pushed by people, but people are always going to push you anyway. But I have to say it was an opportunity that I did take, and that's the other thing, is to have the courage to put yourself forward to do it. A lot of times it's just a lot easier to, I'll just serve, and a lot of people do that, and that's fine, because even as a mayor, when you step forward to do this, I do know, even as a counselor, my wife said, if you're going to do this, make sure that if you're going to take time away from us, make sure you make a difference in your community. Don't be a bum in a seat. And I think I've taken that to heart. But I do believe you got to have the courage to be able to do that. So.
Oh, that's wonderful. I think all of us can make that difference, choose to use our life to make that difference in whatever we're doing. I love that that's what your focus is. And I think we can all focus on that. Parents can focus on that. What are we going to do to make a difference in this world with what's happening around us with our kids? The kids, I always encourage my kids too. It's like, you know what, when you leave this place, I want you to change it for the better. Do something with your life that you're going to change it for the better. And I think that's a great way, a great perspective to look on our life. And I'm just so thankful that you came to join us on and shared your story, because I think it's a great story, a story of overcoming, a story of hope, a story that anyone can take away, an energy of overcoming and an energy of, you know what, it doesn't matter what happens to me, it's how I deal with it. I can change my perspective, and this can make me stronger because of it. So thank you, Mayor Thompson.
Very welcome.
Appreciate it so much. And I want to remind all the parents out there, parents, you make a difference.